Guys, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Advisory Board, where we find experts in franchising, bring them in and have them teach you best ways to operationalize new technology, new strategies, and better run your franchise system. I've got with me two of my friends, people that I've actually had on. Kylon, you've never been on before, but David's been on once a little while ago. David Stein and Kylon Gustin, who are the co-founders of SalesChats and AI Ads. And I wanted to bring them on. David's, by the way, the CEO, Kylon's the CTO, but they're both wearing glasses, so it's kind of hard to tell which one's the smarter of the two. Guys, thanks for coming back on again and being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thanks, Dave, for having us.
Yeah, of course. So how about I'm going to introduce you guys so everybody knows you, and then let's jump into the topic. So this is going to be a fun one today. So guys, David has been in marketing and franchise marketing, right, for like 19 years, almost 20 years now. Started in 2005. He's worked with hundreds of brands. You might have listened to an episode a couple of seasons ago where I had David on to tell us what's kind of the secret sauce behind making Facebook ads actually work for you. It was awesome. I've had a lot of great feedback about it, which kind of bled into us grabbing you again, David. But David's also, he loves his wife, he loves his children, and he loves the Boston Red Sox, but not necessarily in that order. And Kylon's your family man. He's been in tech since the 80s. He's the CTO over there, but I started with a project back in the 80s to be with the company that brought the Bible to a digital format on computers for the first time. So pretty cool tech found our foundation. And then he's got 4 grandkids, one on the way, been married for more than 40 years. And Kylon has, I was just going to make something silly up about you, Kylon, but I won't today. So anyway, these are the guys who've got lots of experience here in tech, in marketing. Kylon's also been at Dwyer Group or Neighborly, and he worked for one of the top franchise marketing firms for like 5 years. So that's when we first met each other, actually, then.
Yep, that's right.
Cool. So topic, we're going to talk about what or how you should be using AI in marketing today and how that landscape's changed. It's changing fast. I showed in a presentation the adoption curve of technology over time. You saw things like the refrigerator took like 30 years. Air travel took like 60 years. AI, like 60 days, right? Like the curve is like, it's almost a vertical line on the chart when you look at it because of how fast it's come out and how fast it's been adopted. So what that means though is it's evolving very quickly, and the application is evolving quickly. So I'm wondering, David, maybe you could start off and just share with us, what's the landscape like right now? AI and marketing, there's a lot of hype. There's so much hype out there, but what's actually changing?
I think really what's changing is how you use AI, the framework of how to use AI to integrate that into your marketing and advertising so that you can get real results and improve the return on investment of your advertising campaigns. So what we've learned over the last 8 months is a lot, because there's a lot of hype about what AI can do, and basically it seems from the hype it can do just about everything. But when you're actually in it, like Kylon and I are, our takeaway has been successful AI is directly related to what you teach, what we like to say, what you teach the machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't have the data to teach AI, then nothing really happens. And we have lots of stories about doing things where nothing has happened. But what we have learned, what we have achieved over the past 6 months is we have built a platform that basically has integrated AI and learns in real time what can be done and what needs to be done to implement a successful franchise advertising campaign.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So there are lots of people are talking about using AI in marketing right now. Kylon, maybe you can add a little color to this too. But like, where I mean, do you guys have a good recommendation list of where is it helpful and where is it not really making a big impact? Or like because everyone talks about content and AI content is is good, never great, unless, I mean, we did a podcast on layered AI content generation. That was solid. But like just general single pass AI content is usually not the best unless it's been trained properly, but it can actually be a detriment. If you're just like, hey, AI, just blast my website with new blog content, people are getting delisted by Google right now. They're actively trying to find content like that and get it off the web and not have people find it. So help us maybe navigate this kind of like what are some places where you feel like good, bad uses of AI in marketing?
Well, this also ties into the landscape part in terms of where AI is doing well. And that is when from a generic standpoint, like you said, who knows what it's going to produce? And it produces some phantom content. And you never know what it's going to say. It never says the same thing twice. And sometimes they're total opposites of what it said before in terms of content production. So a couple of things. One is very industry focused. I mean, every industry has its unique aspects, franchise for sure. In the franchise world, bringing somebody in on a marketing side that has never had franchise or even FranDev experience, it's a different world. And if it's hard to teach a marketing person what's unique about franchise, and just think how a ChatGPT or some AI platform, what it's going to do with just a generic understanding of marketing. So that I think is from where we're at on a platform and setting the stage. That's pretty critical. In terms of what you have to do, like David said, you got to teach the machine. You got to teach it to produce consistent, valid, valuable content. For example, one of our tools, we call it AI Ad Analyzer, and it will analyze ad copy from a FranDev perspective. We're branching out as well, but right now on the FranDev perspective, we've taught it from hundreds and hundreds of data points and of what makes good ad copy, what makes good headlines, what makes good bullet points, what makes good action items and CTAs and things like that, what not to say. There's a lot of things you can say wrong in a FranDev ad that would actually get your client or get you in trouble if you said something in the wrong way. And so when you have to teach it, you need to teach it with enough data and intelligently enough. And it's not an easy task teaching AI how to learn. It's very interesting. It's a tedious and process. You're constantly just saying, no, good try, but let's do this. And so to get AI from the point of being a seventh grade, talking level or, to an MBA, it takes a lot of work. And that's
our approach. Yeah. I mean, our approach, to Kylon's point, has been to apply human knowledge. So all of everything that we've learned in franchising over all of these years, we have successfully taught AI, as Kylon said, what works, what doesn't, and then we've applied that to campaigns that we run.
Yeah.
So it might be data or it might be ad creative, and that's really the value. And all of that happens in real time. So an analyst might take hours to try to figure out what's going on in a campaign. And we have now been able to integrate into our platform at a click of a button, instant analysis based on our human intelligence, which really reduces kind of that labor intensity or these human tasks. And that's great value.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've been able to achieve with this.
I love it. Well, I want to make sure I highlight a couple of key things here, because before I came into franchising almost 6 years ago, like I was working in the language industry where all these NLP models were being built, right? So I'm very familiar with how AI works, but AI learning back then was the whole conversation. Everyone was talking about it. And no one's really talking about AI learning anymore. They're just talking about AI application, which is why I think so much like B- stuff is going out the door now, because no one's paying attention to what they just talked about, which is training the engine. You got to train the AI. AI on its own is self-learning, right? But you can drop a baby in the library, and what's it going to do? It's going to go read baby books. And so you have to think about AI as like a baby, and you're like, okay, how do I train this baby? Maybe not a baby, maybe a seventh grader is a better analogy, but like I can drop a seventh grade in the library, and what's it going to do? Kind of whatever, right? So, but if you say no, I want you to become an expert in franchising. Come down this aisle with me. Here are the resources you should be reading, and let me show you which books to read first. And like you kind of have to take the AI and train it, and then you have to give it. There has to be feedback, and this is the part most people don't want to invest in. It is a major investment to train AI. I don't want to undervalue what you guys just shared, and most people probably don't understand what it takes. But you have to you have to train it, and then you have to let it practice, and then let it run. Just like you're training a new person on the sales team, you're doing what do you call it, role plays. You kind of do like a role play process with the AI to get it, let it cycle through with the information and instructions you gave it, and then let it do its thing. And then you're like, okay, that was okay, but you need to fix this and this. And then you run it through again and again and again and again. So if you haven't done that, guys, and
I mean that you've perfectly laid out exactly what Kylon and I have done, both on the data side as well as the advertising creation side.
You have to actually know how a computer even thinks. How are you going to get it? David and I can have a conversation. We can have a conversation with you, and pretty quick, you're gonna understand what we're saying, and you're gonna become more and more of an expert, or whoever we're talking to on that, especially if they're able to process it well. But you can't just have that same conversation with AI. You have to know how to present the information so it can then turn it into expertise. So, and that's a learning process in itself for us, for anybody.
Oh yeah. And most people, the expertise to be able to train AI and understand how computers think, that's where most operators are missing today. Even tech companies I've seen, they're like, we plugged in AI, like we plugged AI into our platform, but it wasn't the same. It's not like I trained it to do a specific task. It's like, no, here's a resource that can do some things for you in the platform. But next level stuff for us is going to be going through processes you've talked about, like, okay, how do we train the AI to respond to this particular type of a thing? And that particular type of thing, it's very tedious, but I just want to make sure we don't glaze over the fact that you guys have spent months and months and months infusing not just your knowledge and expertise, but also giving feedback to the system so that it learns to think like you. And now you've replicated yourself, but unfortunately, you guys aren't spring chicks anymore. So it probably is a lot faster than you. And it's also now infinitely scalable where you are not, right? So this is where I think AI plays such a huge role in any aspect, but marketing especially, is how do we create scalable value? Well, this is pretty sweet. So maybe we shift and let's talk about what AI should be used for, because a lot of people are trying to use AI everywhere. You don't need AI to tell you what kind of sandwich to make today. What do you guys recommend? And maybe, I don't know, Kylon, why don't you take the lead for a second and David jump in, like where areas where AI should be used today?
And so what we touched on one already, we touched on them all, but let's just kind of list them. One is, like we talked about, making sure your ad copy is effective, and then even getting help to rewrite that ad copy. There's other companies out there that have, that's probably the main focus where AI has been used up to this point, by other companies as well. And in our case, we've highly trained it, like I said, to be effective on the FranDev side of things. But then taking data, AI is actually quite good at analyzing data and using that then, as David mentioned before, to make recommendations on campaigns. So if you've trained it properly, it not only will it understand the data, it knows how to kind of score it, we'll say, but now it even knows how to make recommendations, how to, in our case, improve an ad campaign. So the way we've positioned AI, and we've got some new products that I'll talk about in just a second that we're working on, but is the copy analysis and the rewriting of the ads. Then it's the data analysis of looking at the campaign in the data. So we look at the audience. So when you're doing advertising, you can have the best ad in the world, but if you're targeting the wrong audience, that's not going to do you any good. They're just going to skip by it, or they won't know. They might click on something like, yeah, I want to learn more, but they're not even the right audience to click the learn more button for. So if you can teach it how to analyze, are we targeting the right audience, and what are the signals that determine what to do to even tweak that audience to improve that audience targeting. That's huge because that saves a bunch of money on targeting the wrong people. And then how do you then increase the acquisition of that audience into leads? And what are the factors that go into that? So that's another aspect that we've trained AI in. I think those are those are the kind of areas that I think AI is awesome for our industry, which is digital marketing, and specifically advertising. We're also training it how to identify negative or even positive trends, changes in trends for lead generation, and what caused that increase or that drop. Usually it's the drops that everybody's concerned about. Like, hey, wait a minute, all of a sudden my lead volume went down or lead quality went down. So one, how do you assess lead quality? Lead volume is pretty easy, but then how do you decide what caused it and then what to do about it? And that's what we're training it right now. And we have other platforms or other tools that we're working on, but that's the next one on our list. David?
Awesome.
Any
Yeah,
other
David,
thoughts?
what would you add to that, Mr. Stein?
Well, I think that we can touch a little bit about where AI is going regarding marketing and advertising. Like Kylon said, copy side and the numbers or the data side is pretty strong. The next thing I think is images and video so that we get the full picture regarding the ad. Is it really making that emotional connection with the audience, not just based on what has been written, but also what people are viewing and reading. And I think that AI is in terms of it growing and improving, it's getting there, and we are, right there with it. And as soon as we believe it's effective and it works, we'll be integrating that into our platform as well.
Yeah. I know everyone's all excited when like these AI image generators came out, and I have been woefully disappointed in the quality of what they create. And I'm pretty good at prompt building, but they show these pictures of like this. Looks like somebody spent 50 hours digitally creating this cool cat on a surfboard and like surfing through like a digital background in like a cyberpunk world. And you're like, whoa. So then you try to create something like that. Like, I just want to see a balloon and a bunny. And you're like, oh, it's like a twisted balloon, like I mean, they're so bad. And then they're also just ripping off other people's IP and sticking it in your. So I think it's getting better, but like I've been one of those that was like, I don't think we're anywhere near where we need to be now on this.
I mean, creating it's one thing, but is it effective? Is it making that emotional connection with the right audience? And can we report on that and then make recommendations on alternative images?
And rebuild the image, like just kind of like we do with the ad copy. We rewrite it, but like improve this image. Well, actually show me an improvement. It's one thing to say, here's what you should do, but if you can actually recreate it, that's great. So I haven't seen AI yet be able to take one image it created and then I can ask it to, well, just change this one thing about it. And then all of a sudden it's like a whole different image. It's like, wait a minute, I liked what you had and I can never get back to it. So
yeah, but again, to your point, like where is it going? And can you guys be part of the solution to help push through that? I do have a really good friend from another industry that's like, he's gotten pretty deep into AI and images. So anyway, if you guys ever want to chat, let me know. I'll introduce you.
That'd be great.
Super sharp guy.
Thank you.
But so tell me, so these are areas we can use it. There are some goofs though, right? There are some people that are misusing it in certain areas. You guys want to maybe highlight a few areas where you see people abusing AI or not using it properly and it's creating more issues than value?
Probably content creation is one. Overusing Chat GPT, your audience is kind of picking up, hey, wait a minute, this looks computer generated. and it's not, it's getting away from, say, exactly what the brand, it's getting away from the brand and what the brand stands for, because AI is sort of spinning and just kind of doing its own thing. And clients kind of start picking up on that. And that's a real red flag. And we don't do anything like that at all. But that's definitely a issue for sure.
Yeah, without getting into specifics, I'd have talked to a friend that you know, they had an agency doing some work for them, and all of a sudden they started reading, you know, this particular company is really focused on their brand voice, who they are. I mean, they've worked a lot on that. And they started getting these blogs created that it's like, by an agency, it's like, wait a minute, this isn't even us at all. We don't even offer that product, and it doesn't have our brand voice in it. And that would be an example of, like you said earlier, Dave, where somebody just says, hey, write me a blog. And it's like, it might technically be correct, and it may not even technically be correct, but it's missing that personalization, that brand voice. Now, and so in order to even accomplish that, you're back to what we talked about before. You got to teach it. You got to say, all right, here's what's really important when you write this blog is, you know, here's the persona, here's this, here's that. I mean, you got to take the time, as we said, and you said, to train it so that it can write a good blog. I think if you did that, it might not be a bad thing, but probably would be a good idea to have somebody still looking at editing it and so forth, like you would if you were, you know, had a team of people writing for you, and then you're the expert with this client. You're going to make sure that it fits. But I've seen big, like David said, the content. That's the big goof that we're seeing right now.
There's no question. The way Kylon and I look at it philosophically, and for our clients, AI is a tool.
Oh yeah,
it's not the end all. So when we present basically results to our clients, we provide the standard KPI reports, and AI is also presented, but just as an additional tool and insight for discussion, so that we can make pragmatic changes to the strategy and continue to improve and get better results.
Yeah, I love that. It's a tool, not the full solution by itself, right? It's an augmentation. I've seen a lot of content stuff, Kylon. Just to riff on what you said for a second, I think there's also a big gap for how people leverage it in targeting, because there are some tools, like we talked about this last time we were together, David, about AI targeting in Facebook, and if you actually leverage it properly, boy, it can go nuts, and like it'll reduce your ads, your per ad, your per click costs. It'll also increase your conversion rates, because it's really focusing the copy on the right person. If the copy's right and the image is right, and you've got your profile set up properly with the data uploaded, so it can really target. And you'll notice, what was the number, like 1,000? Don't you need like 1,000 people on the back end to make sure that Facebook's really going to figure out who your persona is and then use their data?
At minimum, we have a list of 150,000 that we use as part of the lookalike audience, which is what you're referring to. But yeah, that's a very, very important component. Like, you know, AI is important, but we keep coming back to the same thing. But your data and your targeting is also critical.
Yeah, and the AI by itself cannot target your people. There's also risk, and you mentioned this, but I want to make sure we go back to it, because we're talking about, you guys have spent months and months and months training these engines in FranDev, specifically FranDev marketing. A big part of that is regulatory, right? It's a regulated industry. There are things you can't say, and I talk to people that are using AI all the time for copy generation, for email, maybe let's say email generation or whatever, and they're saying things that aren't true, which can get you really in a world of hurt in the FranDev world. And franchising, you have to be super careful. So you've got to control the temperature or the hallucination factor, like how much latitude do you give it to be creative with with the prompt you give it, or you need to ratchet it down so that it's really staying focused on the piece of information you're feeding it, so it doesn't. And that's a big error I see a lot of people making, myself, is turning AI loose in FranDev. It's a real easy way to get sued.
And what we do on our platform is, as Kylon mentioned earlier, is we have an AI analyze copy tool, and then we have a little button you can press, and then you can rewrite your ad, but it automatically goes into a clipboard. So you can look at the ad that you've written, you can look at what AI is suggesting, and then you can decide what you might want to pick up from the AI recommended copy, or not use any of it at all.
Yeah, we keep that temperature pretty low, by the way.
Yeah, same.
If you train it well and you give it enough information so it can either write the copy properly or analyze the data properly, you can live with a lower temperature so that it's not, you're not given as much leeway as somebody would that's like, if you don't have, if it's doing it on its own. So
Yeah. I love it. And guys, this is the reason why I bring on people like this, because they really know, but if you don't know what he's even talking about, like there are settings in AI engines you have to manage, or else you give it too much latitude to be creative. And you can't when you're trying to stay on brand, when you're trying to stay, we talked about layered AI in another session. This is why usually it's not a single pass, right? Like you guys probably have several checkpoints and way stations in the AI where it's like, okay, now check this. Okay, now check this. And now check this. Where if you're trying to do it on your own, you're putting a single prompt into ChatGPT and just praying that it doesn't screw something up. That's not the leverage AI. It has to be a multi-stage approach, because you can't, or you have to write a prompt that's 5,000 characters long so you can get it to do all those checks in one. And that's very, very difficult to get your logic in the right order so that the AI is going to do the right thing.
It's literally a full-time job to do that. I mean, it really is. I mean, but then you've got the ability to scale, to replicate, and to but it's worth it in the end.
Yeah, I agree. Well, guys, I want to ask you this question, so don't be offended by this, but in the press
Dave,
release,
you could never offend us.
oh, I'm pretty good.
All right, maybe you could.
Okay, but if I said something about the socks, I know that would be immediately.
Yeah.
How
We'll
did
do that
anyway,
offline. Okay.
So you guys are saying, hey, we're the first to really bring AI into FranDev marketing. Yeah, and I know there are others that have like started throwing AI around earlier than you guys. Like, tell me, how do you substantiate that kind of claim, and what do you guys do that's unique that people should understand? Go
Real,
ahead, David. Yeah.
let me, okay, is that
I was going to
okay?
let David touch on that, and I'll finish up.
Yeah, easy. Yeah, the way I can address that is through data-driven creative. So we basically have studied our campaigns that we have run over the years. We've studied the ads that we've written over the years. We've taken the time and we've made the investment, just the way you just articulated it, Dave, to teach the engine what works and what doesn't. And that's really why we are saying, and we know that we're the first to bring this approach using AI to the world of franchising.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is that the data-backed training that allows us to make that claim. There's no question that it's easy to create an AI product and call it that, but is it truly trained in the right way? And so I think when we started out with our first AI product was analyzing data and analyzing our campaigns for our clients. That hadn't been done yet. Obviously, there's some GPT copywriting stuff that's been out there for a long time, and
Right.
So it's fairly easy. We had a button that we put in there that's called AI assist, and that button's not there anymore. But it was kind of it wasn't even one that was surfaced to the user. We had it there for us. And it had a lot of fun writing ad copy, and but it wasn't one that you would really want to use necessarily. So it took a lot of training to get it to where it is now, and so but yeah, it is, as David said, the data from a training perspective is probably the biggest differentiator, and one that we feel very comfortable with the claims that we make.
We have another product called Ask Z, where basically we've taken 2,500 questions that are related to franchising, franchise marketing, and advertising. And we've trained AI to answer those kinds of questions. So it's a nice tool for some of the clients that we have that can take some time and ask Z a bunch of questions and hopefully save themselves some time when they're putting together their advertising strategy. But that's just another example of the kind of products that we've developed.
Wow. No, I love that. because AI is so good at at synthesizing and regurgitating what it can synthesize, right? So putting together that kind of a data repository where it's combine all the knowledge and experience you guys have in tech and marketing, and then spit it, give some green person, some guy that just got out of marketing classes in college and now is in charge of franchise marketing. They don't know what they're doing. So I think that's a brilliant way to leverage AI within the platform that you're also generating the copy, generating the ads, analyzing the ads. Like this is a real robust tool that you guys have put together, and you guys obviously have a lot of experience. This is what I wanted to share, is highlight to the world, like there's a way to approach using AI. We have to figure out how to leverage this. We personally are working on it actively right now, better ways to leverage AI and sales automation, CRM, right? So, but there's a way to do it right. And you guys, I think, truly exemplify that in the way that you've gone after this.
Thanks.
Tell me, guys, if you don't mind, a couple of parting thoughts. Maybe we'll start with Kylon. We'll wrap on David this time. What's next? Like, what should people be looking at on the horizon? We talked about some imagery stuff a little bit, but how should people be looking at AI in the next 6, 12, 18 months in the world of marketing?
Yeah, I think I can kind of speak from our perspective. David's really good at speaking from a more kind of holistic perspective. I mentioned, the tool that's going to, understand what's going wrong and what to fix and all that, and that's on the horizon for us. And we call it AI trends. And then we're building a pipelines product. That's a little bit less AI, but very tight integration into client tether, for example. But we've got ideas on how to, especially on the consumer side, where you can predict. Let's say you're in the roofing business and there was just a huge hailstorm in the Dallas, Texas area. Guess what? You need to put out some ads for roof repair, and you can do that through Google. You can do that through Facebook, but it would automatically make recommendations and at some point implement automatically new ad campaigns for what's going on in the world, in your particular local segment. We see some really cool applications for that down the road. Dave, what are your thoughts?
Improve performance and being able to scale that performance across all of the ad campaigns. So clients running hundreds and hundreds of campaigns, AI is basically studying the various variables in terms of what's working and what's not, creating a performance score for every single ad that we're running. And then what Kyle and I like to call, we want to green light it or red light it to our clients. We want to send out an AI alert and say, hey, listen, this campaign is doing really, really well. We need to apply what we've learned from this particular campaign across all the campaigns that you're running throughout the various geographic targets. So that's a product that we've built and we continue to build and improve. And we know that's something that all of the clients really are asking us about. Again, saves them time, saves them money, and improves the ROI of every ad they're running.
Yeah, where that really comes into play is you're a multi-unit brand and you got hundreds of locations and you got lots of different campaigns running. What's working for all, what is working, and how do we apply that to all the locations? That would be really sweet. And that's what we're working on now. We have part of that built, and we're working on the rest of it.
That's great. Well, guys, what's the best way for people to reach out to you? So if somebody was like, David and Kyle, and they've got a good insight or two that I really need to dig deeper into for my brand, what's the easiest way to connect?
Yeah, SalesChats.com. That's SalesChats with a Z, D Stein at SalesChats.com. Love to hear from you. Thank you.
Everything ends with a Z.
Everything. Yeah, that's.
You guys are gonna have to legally change your names to like Kylon Gustin's and David Stein's. Yeah,
Work on that.
I sure appreciate you. Thanks for coming on again.
Thank you, Dave. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right.
Take care. Content, guys. See you.